Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ. Tonight, a battle brewing in the Montana legislature is having impacts on a Miles City sex abuse case, and both sides are weighing in.
Miles City sex abuse survivors who are now grown men say they believe a freshman lawmaker is trying to torpedo a bill that could essentially help childhood sex abuse victims get justice even decades after they're abused.
The issue at stake is Montana's statute of limitations laws when it comes to those who experience sexual abuse as children. At the beginning, supporters of the bill say it had widespread bipartisan support.
However, now that's changed as Montana's former U.S. Attorney Bill Mercer, who is also a lawmaker from Billings, says the current law is just fine the way it is. Q2's Andrea Lutz is here now with both sides. Andrea.
Well, Miles City sex abuse survivors told me that there is now a new challenge in their case. Not only can 78-year-old Jim Jensen not be tried criminally for the sex abuse allegations against him, but now future legislation to protect others could also be dead. While Jim Jensen is being criminally charged federally for internet crimes, some 31 plaintiffs in a massive civil case may never be given that justice. They hoped for a change in law during Montana's 2019 legislature.
It's an epidemic right now in Montana, and it's like the, Rome's burning, and the legislators are slow walking this.
House Bill 202, sponsored by Democrat Shane Morigeau, initially had widespread bipartisan support aimed at extending or ending the civil statute of limitations law altogether.
My perspective all along has been if someone has been sexually abused as a child, you should never be able to escape the justice system.
But plaintiffs in Jensen's sex abuse case say then came Billings Representative Bill Mercer.
I think the Morigeau bill is not good public policy, and I'm trying to work with both people on judiciary and outside of judiciary to see if we can come up with a different approach.
Survivors of the abuse say sexual massages and rub-downs occurred under the direction of Jensen to enhance athletic ability.
All of our clients are being deposed. They're all being asked intimate and personal details. It re-traumatizes victims, and that's the current state of the law.
However, Mercer says it should stay that way and instead focus on Montana's criminal statute of limitation laws.
And so we're busy trying to work through those issues and figure out, what should we do with the statute of limitations on the civil side and the criminal side.
Representative Bill Mercer does not sit on the House Judiciary Committee. And then also there is this. Time is starting to run out for this bill. It has to get to the House by the 45th day of the Montana legislature. That leaves only 8 days for lawmakers to decide on the future of this bill. Russ and Jeanelle.
All right. Thank you, Andrea.
12 survivors of sexual abuse by priests told top Catholic officials at the Vatican today that such attacks can no longer be tolerated.
Their meeting came one day before Pope Francis hosts a summit on abuse in the church. This morning, the 12 victims met with high-ranking bishops to ask for zero tolerance, which would weed out not only predator priests, but those who protected them.
As they left the meeting, one of the survivors told CBS News he thinks he has a better chance of hitting the Powerball than getting the changes they requested.
Robert Mueller's investigation may soon be coming to a close. According to people familiar with the matter, Attorney General Bill Barr could announce the completion of the Russia probe as early as next week. The almost 2-year-long investigation will close with a confidential report submitted directly to Barr. The Attorney General then has to decide how much of that report that he'll share with Congress. Legally, he doesn't have to disclose any of it. However, Barr said he plans to be as transparent as possible.
We move now to the arrest of a U.S. Coast Guard lieutenant. Prosecutors say Christopher Hassan is a domestic terrorist, a self-described white nationalist with a collection of weapons and a long list of people he wanted to kill. When federal agents searched his basement apartment in the suburbs of Washington, they found 15 firearms and more than 1,000 rounds of ammunition. They also retrieved a hit list filled with names of U.S. senators and media personalities and a draft email in which he says he dreams of a way to kill almost every last person on Earth.
Empire actor Jussie Smollett is now facing 2 felony charges. Earlier today, Chicago police tweeted Smollett is officially classified as a suspect in a criminal investigation for filing a false police report. 3 weeks ago, Smollett told police 2 men attacked him in a Chicago neighborhood, put a rope around his neck, poured a chemical substance on him, and shouted racist and homophobic slurs.
Now, 2 brothers were arrested and released in connection with the attack and are now cooperating with law enforcement.
All right, we want to turn to weather now. Bob's here, and you've been adding up some of the snow totals from across the state. How are we looking?
Well, we're looking pretty good as far as snowfall, but I want to show you another place just a little farther to the east. Let's go to the Twin Cities. Yeah, look at this. It was snowing to beat the Banshee up there today. They had 30 inches of snow so far this month of February, and by the way, that breaks even a record for them. That's a lot of snow in 1 month. But let me show you what's happening back here in Montana. Here in the Billings area, here's what we had. We've had 42 inches of snow so far this winter, and you'll notice that that's actually about 10 inches, almost 10 inches above normal. Last year at this time, we were at 76.9 inches. Glasgow and Great Falls both are about 16, almost 17 inches ahead of normal. Glasgow has 42 inches. Great Falls has 53 inches. Missoula, they have 42 inches, but there's no report of normal or what they did last year. So as you can see, though, those 3 cities are doing very well for snow. Everybody's above normal so far for snowfall. Last month, we were actually behind normal. Let's go back to you.
All right, thank you, Bob. Montana lawmakers are hard at work on the first draft of the state's 2-year budget.
On Wednesday, a 9-member panel wrapped up its initial work on the biggest portion, Health and Human Services. MTN's Mike Dennison has those details.
Health and Human Services accounts for 40% of the state's overall budget, more than $4 billion over the next 2 years. On Wednesday, the House-Senate subcommittee crafting this budget approved a slight increase and restored some of the cuts made during the past year. Perhaps the most significant change is more money for nursing homes, assisted living centers, and other private providers that take care of the elderly, the mentally ill, and the disabled.
But I don't think that the provider rates are high enough when you're talking at, starting somebody at $12 an hour to work with an autistic teenager who's my size, and they can make that same money at McDonald's.
The start today was excellent as far as I'm concerned. We redirected money to the community for particular populations, senior citizens, people with Alzheimer's, dementia, children who have physical disabilities or who are suffering from mental illness. It's we're trying to bolster or restore the community services.
Most of the votes Wednesday were bipartisan, with Democrats and Republicans on the 9-member committee voting together. Lawmakers still must figure out where they'll get the money to cover the state's share of the Children's Health Insurance Plan after a big drop in federal funding. Cafaro said there simply isn't enough money to cover what she considers vital services, and that lawmakers should seriously consider tax increases to raise those funds.
There are many programs that have been cut and eliminated, and people don't even realize it. I think that people who are advocates for human services and their lobbyists really could do a good service for the people we represent by going to the tax committee and helping members of the tax committee understand what those taxes pay for.
So far this session, majority Republicans have said they don't plan to support any tax increases. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Well, the next stop for the budget is the full House Appropriations Committee next month.
A bill to abolish Montana's death penalty died in committee today. The bill went down on an 11-8 vote, with all Democrats voting to keep it alive. House Bill 350, sponsored by Republican State Representative Mike Hopkins of Missoula, would have abolished the death penalty and replaced it with a life sentence in prison. Hopkins told MTN News he has no plans to try to revive the measure. Now, 2 people currently sit on Montana's death row, including one who was sentenced nearly 36 years ago.
A bill paving the way for the state to become an investment partner in large economic development efforts, such as the One Big Sky project in Billings, is taking shape but has not yet been formally introduced. Billings Senator Roger Webb, the chief sponsor, says that what started as a 6-page bill draft is now 42 pages long, and it's still not finished. Webb told us this week 5 Montana communities have expressed an interest in the bill that requires a $300 million private investment to trigger an infusion of $125 million in state dollars. Webb stresses his bill is still a work in progress, but has the potential to spark billions of dollars in economic development for the state.
It has the potential, it has the capability of generating billions of dollars. I mean, can you imagine 5 of these projects going at once? That's potentially $5 billion. And our state budget's only 10. But this has a 20, 30, 40-year impact that nothing else has.
In addition to Billings, the other communities that have projects that could benefit from Webb's bill include Bozeman, Missoula, Big Sky, and Polson. Since the One Big Sky bill is considered a revenue measure, it needs to be formally introduced by the 60th legislative day, which gives Webb slightly more than 3 weeks to work out all the details.
Coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, what's black and white and fuzzy all over? Well, how about this rare trio in Whitehall? We'll check them out.
Plus, it is some grisly video and a great testament to the power of bear spray.
And in sports, Scott shows us if opening day at your divisional basketball tournament is deviating from the script.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.